What are you touching? You're so impatient. Isn't that adorable? A son will always love his mom, no matter how old he gets. In the otherwise quiet house, only the bathroom was abuzz. Without a doubt, it was my mother and my husband in there. The third person was undeniably my mother-in-law. Their excitement was mounting on the other side of that door. If I were to speak up now, would my voice, which shouldn't be here, reach them? My name is Abby. By some accounts, I'm a career woman. Even after marriage, I've continued to work hard. And now, at 39, I hold a responsible position. In my stead, the house husband role is filled by my husband, John, who is 10 years younger and currently works from home. As our daughter Ellie grows up, John has steadily become a better cook. Moreover, he has become quite the expert in childcare, and thanks to him, Ellie, now 5 years old, has grown into a lively girl who loves playing outdoors. Our house is close to my in-laws' place. It was initially a rental owned by my father-in-law. When the previous tenants moved out, he refurbished it into a beautiful standalone home. Gratefully, he gave it to our family as a wedding gift. We also have my sister-in-law's family living nearby. They have a child of the same age as Ellie, and we enjoy a close-knit family relationship. Additionally, John has a good relationship with his mother, while I've always had a tough relationship with my mother. I had always admired their healthy parent-child relationship, even before we got married. Still, the reason I cannot warm up to my own mother is probably because I can't accept her audacious habit of using my cosmetics without my permission. Our relationship with my parents, who lives within biking distance in the next town, is somewhat lukewarm. Our peaceful daily life was shattered due to an incident that happened on a public holiday. That day, I woke up feeling sluggish, but since I had no fever, I thought I was just tired and went to work as usual. While we are off on weekends, we work on public holidays. It is only with the support of my family that I am able to continue this way of working. However, my body couldn't be persuaded by my will alone, and I had to leave work early in the afternoon, after a coworker noticed that I wasn't feeling well. I rested a little in the company's break room, and then returned home. I think it was a little past 2 p.m. when I arrived. "I'm home," I called out when I opened the front door, but there was no reply from either Ellie or John. I saw 2 familiar pairs of shoes neatly aligned near the front door as I was thinking about reducing Ellie's nap times in preparation for her starting elementary school. Even though I found it odd, I wanted to change into comfortable clothes, so first I headed to the bathroom to wash my hands. The sliding door connecting the hallway straight to the bathroom was open as usual, but I stopped before entering, unable to take another step forward. I saw scattered adult clothing and underwear, and from the bathroom, I could hear cheerful voices. They were unmistakably those of John and my mother-in-law, and even my own mother. Despite my confusion, I instinctively covered my mouth and managed not to scream. Could it really be John and the others in the bathroom? I couldn't believe it as I strained my ears to listen. I had never heard such a sweet, coquettish voice from the mothers, but when I thought about it, matching it with the shoes at the entrance, it was undeniable that those 3 were in the bathroom. "Isn't Ellie off from kindergarten today? Where did you leave her?" "I left her with my buddy. Don't worry, he has kids about the same age as Ellie, so it's easy to make excuses to Abby. And I've told him I've got an important online meeting I can't miss, so he understands that I'll be at home and might pick her up late. So forget all of that. Let's not waste our precious time together." The 3 of them, unaware of my return, were having a great time. My mother blushing like a maiden, and my mother-in-law pleading in a voice that was hard to believe was directed at her son, and John seemingly satisfied managing the 2. 3 voices I didn't want to hear echoed through my head in the small bathroom. Ugh, disgusting. Overcome with nausea, I crumbled to the floor. I wasn't sure if the involuntary sound I made was due to my sarcastic feeling that the three of them, who were obviously enjoying themselves, wouldn't hear me, or whether I wanted them to realize I was there. All I knew was that I felt so sick, I was about to collapse. After a while, I managed to overcome my nausea by crouching down and covering my ears. Then, while being careful of the frosted glass used for the bathroom door, I managed to lock the exterior lock. Who would have imagined that the child safety lock I installed when Ellie started crawling would be used for such a thing? Then I carefully took a tension rod from the entrance closet and used it to gather the scattered clothes. I also closed the sliding door facing the hallway so that the three of them would not be able to get out immediately if they noticed. My fingertips, drained of blood and cold as ice, had not yet recovered, but a strange determination was rising. I couldn't let the three of them get away with this. But in my still confused head, I couldn't think of anything. So I secured the sliding door with the rod I had in my hand to buy some time. When I entered the living room with a pile of clothes, I felt relief that I had passed the first hurdle without the three noticing. However, at the same time, the disgust was so great that even being in the same house was unbearable. Feeling dirty about the clothes I was holding, I dropped them all on the spot when I heard the annoying vibration sound. Looking up, it was my mother-in-law's phone left on the couch, and the caller was none other than her husband. I answered the phone as if I was given divine help and explained the situation. As I sorted out the situation in my head, I tried to communicate this ongoing, abnormal situation to my father-in-law as emotionless as possible. Even as I continued to explain while suppressing the nausea rising again, my father-in-law, still confused, said in a flat voice, "I'll be there as soon as possible," and hung up the phone. But having talked with him, I regained some composure and made the call to the next person on my phone. A few minutes after I finished the call and sat down in the hallway, the bathroom across the door was filled with a different kind of noise than before. The sound of the mothers pounding on the frosted door so hard they seemed to be breaking it. And John's voice demanding the door be unlocked after realizing the exterior lock was closed. I turned on the light on my side, and my silhouette, which could probably be clearly seen from the other side, made the three of them stop in their tracks. With an attempt at a calm voice, full of irony, I delivered the bad news. "You should have taken your time. All the family members except the girls will be here soon, so you'll be busy right away. Shouldn't you have enjoyed your time while you could?" After finishing the call with my father-in-law earlier, I had also contacted my father and sister-in-law. My sister-in-law and her husband had been at the local park with their daughter. One of their mom friends, who was also at the park with her child, agreed to look after their daughter, so they were hurrying over to us. My father, who was livid over the phone to a terrifying degree, should also arrive soon. "Hold on, Abby. This is not what it looks like. I mean, we were a little sweaty and thought it would be more efficient to shower together, so it's not like that." Beside John, who was making incomprehensible excuses, my mother-in-law and mother were emotionally shouting to unlock the door. I averted my gaze from beyond the mosaic-covered door and persisted in ignoring them. Several minutes later, my father-in-law, sister-in-law, and her husband, and my father, all arrived in that order. When I steeled myself and opened the bathroom door, the three of them were completely deflated and had shrunk down. Seeing their nakedness, my father-in-law nearly fainted, barely held up by my sister-in-law. My father was so angry, his blood vessels looked like they would burst, and immediately lunged at my mother. As my sister-in-law's husband and I held on to my father to stop his punches, I truly felt how difficult it was to stay sane amidst this hellish scene. Once my sister-in-law's husband separated my father from the three, I put some energy into my weakening legs and demanded an explanation from John and the others. Given the situation, they started explaining without any pretense of hiding anything, and we were simply disillusioned by their humanity when we heard what they had to say. John had first become physically involved with my mother. This was a deeply rooted issue, since the very fact that John had married me was because my mother had caught his interest. He had never shown any signs of being attracted to my mother since our marriage, and had played the role of a good husband and father in front of me, all the while aggressively pursuing my mother behind my back. My mother, flattered by the advances of a man younger than her own daughter, started to enjoy her relationship with John and eventually gave in to his physical demands. My mother-in-law, who accidentally became aware of their immoral games, instead of reproaching them, chose to join in. Apparently, her logic was, if it was okay for my mother who was of the same age, then it was okay for her too. And in the end, it turned out to be so. After we received a house as a gift from my father-in-law, John would invite either my mother or mother-in-law to our house for intercourse on the days when I was at work. He would invite one of the two during the weekdays, while Ellie was at kindergarten, and the other on holidays. Sometimes he would leave Ellie with his sister or a friend of his, and the three of them would have an affair, as in this case. Their relationship, which had lasted far longer than we could have imagined, had recently evolved into a ménage à trois, and we were rendered speechless when they told us they had been seeking this thrill about once a week. But it's not what you think. We didn't intend to break up any relationships. We just had aligning interests. It was just a sort of stress relief, you know? She laughed. My mother's words, uttered with a nonchalant laugh, shattered the silence. I remembered when I was still living at home with my parents. My mother had nonchalantly used my lipstick, which didn't suit her at all, and tossed my makeup bag back to me, saying she just wanted to try it out. She was always that kind of person, smiling while doing things I disliked as long as it pleased her. I had been shocked ever since I heard the voices coming from the bathroom, but here I finally felt a rage that could be described as hatred. My mother-in-law, similarly, began speaking in a cheerful voice, also wearing a smile. That's right. We all have families, you know. I mean, I'm doing it with my real son. I have no further feelings about this. Don't worry. We'll stop this entirely. So, Abby, please don't make that scary face, right? Before I could respond to being addressed, her husband was the first to speak. What do you mean, we all have families? You're the ones who destroyed those. I've had enough of your consideration. I'm going to divorce you, so do whatever you want. Such a strong declaration of divorce was unthinkable from the father-in-law, who until a moment ago had been pale and leaning on his daughter for support. My father, who had been directing his anger at the three of them the whole time, followed suit as if he had been overtaken. Of course, I felt the same. Congratulations, John. We're also getting divorced, and now you three can get along as much as you like. Excuse my language, but just looking at you all makes me want to vomit. So I'm leaving. You don't ever need to show your faces to me again. Perhaps they had never dreamed they would be confronted with divorce by their spouses. Each of them begged for forgiveness in their own words. They pleaded with my sister-in-law and her husband, the only neutral parties in the room, to mediate. But my sister-in-law and her husband, who had been looking at them with open contempt, declared they wanted nothing to do with them and left, supporting her wobbling father. John, however, clung to me, begging for mercy and saying that he couldn't live if I left him. But he had just admitted that he married me to get closer to my mother. I couldn't comprehend how he could think we would continue as a couple. Without even looking at the three of them, I said to my father, "Let's go. Abby, I'll really do anything, just not divorce." Seeing John reach out to me, my father finally threw a punch. At John's sudden stagger backwards, Both my mother-in-law and mother let out short screams. I took one last look at their frightened faces, declared that I would sue John for alimony and child support, and left. When I returned to my parents' house after picking up Ellie, I found a barrage of messages on my phone from the three of them. I didn't respond to any of them. After that, all three families ended in divorce. Both my mother-in-law and mother were penniless after being sued for alimony that they couldn't make up with the division of assets. My father-in-law and father had arranged for them to pay me alimony first since I had a child, and I've had no contact with them ever since. Because we had all lived close to each other, word of the incident spread quickly in our neighborhood, full of acquaintances. My mother-in-law, no longer able to bear being shunned by close friends and pointed at by mere acquaintances as disgusting, moved far away. My mother set up residence in town due to her lingering attachment to John and my father. But soon, everyone around her, including her relatives, came to know the cause of her divorce, and she found herself alone. No one was there to help her live alone for the first time at this age, and she is still living in loneliness. John was harshly rebuked and cut off by the friend who had been taking care of Ellie for him. It was only natural that the anger of the friend who had unknowingly been involved in the situation wouldn't die down, and John was devastated by being rejected by a friend of 10 years and feeling misunderstood. If only he had realized his mistake there. But he went on to tell a colleague at work, with whom he was close, about the incident. This led to the cause of the divorce spreading in the company, and John quickly lost his place there. He had just started going into the office again as remote work was lifted, and it must have been a tough environment for him. However, he had no savings, since he had paid me alimony, and couldn't quit his job as he needed to keep working to pay child support. I moved to a child-friendly apartment that is well-equipped with soundproofing and is barrier-free, where my sister-in-law resides. My relationship with my sister-in-law and her husband remains strong. My father-in-law and father also come to our place often, and they have all been very supportive of Ellie's growth. Moreover, when our divorce was finalized, my father-in-law sold the house we were given and used that money to cover John's child support payments. The house, which had never been transferred to John's name due to gift tax implications, remained under my father-in-law's name, which made the process go smoothly. I had intended to receive child support for Ellie's sake, but my father-in-law's quick thinking really helped, since I didn't want any contact with John. From now on, I would like John to work hard to repay the child support that my father-in-law provided. Of course, out of our sight.
I came home earlier than expected from a business trip. And then, from the bathroom of my supposedly empty house, I heard my husband's voice. Why would he be in the bath at such an odd hour? He's supposed to be at work right now. I nervously phoned my husband Nick, and as expected, he yelled back, "I'm at work." If that's the case, whose voice is this that I'm hearing? At that moment, everything clicked. Unforgivable. To betray me, his wife? There's no way I can stay quiet about something like this. I finally decided to get my revenge on my husband. My name is Kathy. I'm 30 years old. After graduating from university, I got a job at a certain food company, and I'm now in my 8th year. Recently, I've been given the role of team leader for a new project, and I'm living fulfilling days. I married Nick 2 years ago. It started at a mixer, but I've been able to lead a happy married life with him, who is more like a friend. While I have to commute to my office and regularly go on business trips, he works from home half the week. The policy at his company changed, and it's been like this since a year ago. Initially, Nick was a bit confused by the sudden change in his work style, but now he's glad to be able to relax and work at home. When I'm on a business trip or such, he takes care of all the housework, which is very helpful. Then one day, after I came home from work and was changing in my room, I noticed something. Huh? Was there this little left? I remove my makeup in my room when I change, but I felt that my liquid makeup remover in the container looked slightly less than I remembered. Being frugal by nature, I only use the bare minimum of everything, not just makeup remover. Even for toner and emulsion, I only use a little bit, just what I need. Because of this, I'm more sensitive to the amount of makeup remover than others. Why? When I came back yesterday, it hadn't been this much less. Did Nick accidentally spill it by any chance? Unable to shake off the sense of discomfort, I called out to Nick, who was preparing dinner. Hey Nick, did you go into my room today? He stopped his work and turned around saying, Huh? With a puzzled expression on my husband's face, I briefly explained the situation. My makeup remover seems to be running low. Do you know anything about this?
No, I have no idea.
I see. I thought maybe you might have accidentally spilled it while cleaning my room.
I've been working from home all day today. Maybe it's all in your head, Kathy.
You think so? But I'm certain it's less than before.
Kathy, you're probably just tired. Look, dinner's ready. Why don't you sit down and wait?
Alright, thanks, Nick. Being told it was all in my head by my husband, I decided to convince myself so that day. Still, a faint sense of unease swirled in my mind. 2 weeks later, I had been on a business trip and was returning home after a long while. My husband Nick greeted me with a smile and prepared dinner as usual. That day, I was so tired that I went straight to eat and take a bath without even removing my makeup. Standing in front of the bathroom sink to do my skincare after the bath, I noticed something. What? What is this? My usual toner, moisturizer, and even my beauty cream were noticeably diminished. These were high-end skincare products that I had treated myself to just a month ago. Being frugal by nature, I was using them sparingly and should have had plenty left. This time, it was clear that they had definitely been used. Someone must have used it. With that thought in my mind, I dashed towards Nick. Nick, did you use my toner?
Why would I use your stuff, Kathy?
But it's strange. No matter how I look at it, a lot has gone.
Oh, not this again. Just like last time, isn't it just your imagination, Kathy?
No, it's different this time. If it's not you, Nick, then someone has been sneaking into our house. At my words, Nick burst out laughing and retorted.
So, you're saying someone came to steal your toner? No way, Kathy. I've been working from home these past 2 days when you weren't around.
But...
Besides, if it was a burglar, they would take what they wanted, right? Who's ever heard of a burglar who uses a little bit of something and then leaves without taking anything? That's an extremely conscientious thief.
Well, I suppose so.
See, you're imagining things, Kathy. If you're that worried, shall I increase my days working from home?
Nick's company allows flexible work arrangements, including working from home, as long as he comes to the office on certain required days. Until recently, half of his week was remote, and the other half was in the office, but considering the security situation, it would be reassuring to have Nick around more. I asked Nick to work from home as much as possible, and decided to keep an eye on the situation. 1 week later, since then, the contents of my skincare products didn't decrease anymore, and I was able to return to my normal routine. I had started to think that perhaps it was all in my head, but then something happened. On this particular day, I was off work and went shopping by myself. After finishing my makeup in my room, I opened my jewelry box to get something to wear and gasped. What? What is this? Why are so many things missing? Much to my shock, several of my favorite earrings and rings were missing. Even the gold necklace I had inherited from my grandmother was gone. There were numerous valuable accessories I had bought as treats for my hard work. There were also gifts from friends and mementos I had received from Nick. I had carefully kept the necklace from my grandmother, waiting for the perfect occasion to wear it. What's more, only the expensive brand items were gone. The inexpensive items I bought at novelty shops were neatly left in the box. There's no doubt, someone definitely stole them. The person who stole my toner must have done this too. Convinced there had been an intruder, I showed Nick the contents of my jewelry box and declared loudly, "Nick, look at this. See, it wasn't all in my head."
What's gotten into you? Is there something wrong with what's in the box?
Until just the other day, there were rings and earrings in here. Now, all the brand items are missing. It's strange for so many valuable things to just disappear.
Are you sure it's not just your imagination?
I told you, it's not my imagination. Only the brand items were taken. Isn't that strange?
Maybe you just forgot you threw them out yourself.
No way! Why would I throw out my own jewelry? Even the necklace that was my grandmother's heirloom is gone. It's not something that can just be explained away as all in my head, right? I pulled out my smartphone and dialed 911. Then my husband, Nick, swiftly took the phone away from me and hung up. Nick, what are you doing?
That's my line. Why on earth would you call the police?
Because someone stole my personal stuff. There might be fingerprints left behind. It makes sense to report it, doesn't it?
That's just an overreaction. Plus, I was at home the whole time. If someone had come in, I would have noticed, right?
So how do you explain this? No matter how I look at it, it's weird.
First off, calm down. I'll help you look around the house, okay?
Nick attempted to soothe me by gently rubbing my back, but it was nothing more than a weak consolation to me. I took photos of every corner of the room so that I noticed if anything has changed. With this evidence, no one could dismiss it as just my imagination. If we can't find anything after some time, I'll definitely contact the police then. I decided that in my heart and acted calm and normal in front of my husband. A few weeks later, I had another business trip. Originally scheduled for a week, I finished work early and decided to come home a day earlier than planned. Nick had been in charge of all the housework while I was away, so I thought I'd make dinner for him that evening. With that in mind, I bought a ton of groceries and headed home. The moment I walked into the entrance, I instinctively felt something was off. And then I noticed an unfamiliar pair of women's shoes at the entrance. Nick should be home, so why are there women's shoes? Could it be the thief is a woman? In a panic, I found myself dialing Nick's number. He answered after a few rings, to which I hurriedly said, "Hello?" To that, he grumpily retorted,
"Don't call me out of the blue. I'm in the middle of work, you know."
"I'm sorry, Nick. Where are you right now?"
"I'm obviously at work. Consider the time, will ya?"
"I thought you were working from home today. Why aren't you at home? I'm in a bind here."
"Sorry, but I'm busy right now. Bye."
"Wait, Nick." He abruptly ended the call. I couldn't face a burglar on my own. I had to call him back and ask him to come home early. Just as I thought this, I heard voices coming from the direction of the bathroom. Quietly, I tiptoed closer to the bathroom. When I silently entered the changing area, I could see two silhouettes reflected on the shower curtain. From inside the bathroom, I heard someone talking to my husband. "Was that your wife on the phone just now?"
Yeah. Damn, she called while I was having fun. She should just quietly do her job, haha.
"Nick, you're really a piece of work, you know. Your wife is working hard and here you are, bringing me into your house."
What's so bad about that? She's a workaholic. It's fine, haha.
That's terrible. Isn't your wife earning more than you do? You shouldn't say such things.
Well, I admit I'm living in this nice house thanks to her, haha. I do all the housework, so bringing a girl home once in a while should be okay, right? Haha.
Haha, Nick, you're the best. My husband and his mistress's laughter, mocking me, echoed in the bathroom. At that moment, everything clicked. The dwindling makeup remover and skincare products, the missing pieces of my jewelry. They were all used and stolen by his mistress. My husband, whom I had trusted and sought help from, was the real culprit all along. Unaware of all this, I had been consulting with him. He had resisted calling the police and tried to pass everything off as my imagination, all to keep his affair from being discovered. At that moment, I felt something inside me break down. This is unforgivable. It is absolutely not okay. I stepped outside and took out my cell phone again. Catching my breath, I dialed my parents and my brother. "Hey, it's me. I know it's sudden, but could you come over right now?" I made the same call to my husband's parents and had them gather at our house. A few dozen minutes later, when everyone had gathered, I explained the situation. Right now, my husband and his mistress are in my bathroom.
What did you just say? Is that true, Kathy?
With his face reddened in anger, my father asked. Yes, it's true. I heard their conversation with my own ears. Upon hearing this, everyone's faces turned pale.
That scumbag!
Father, please, hold back for now. I rushed to stop my father, who looked ready to storm in any moment.
How dare he tramples on my precious daughter's feelings! I can't leave until I punched a guy who cheats while his wife is away.
Father, I understand you are angry too, but right now I need your cooperation for my revenge.
Revenge? Do you have a plan?
I was originally supposed to come home tomorrow, so I think this mistress will probably stay late. I want to sneak into the house without them noticing, have everyone see their affair, and ask you all to be my witnesses.
Got it. If it'll make you feel better, Kathy, I'll cooperate.
Thank you, Dad. And so we quietly and carefully snuck into the house. Nick and his mistress seemed to have already gotten out of the bath, and now I could hear their voices coming from the bedroom. Listening to their conversation, it seems like they were about to get intimate. We each activated the cameras on our smartphones, waiting for the right moment. A few minutes later, suppressing my rising disgust, I flung the bedroom door open with all my might. Enough is enough, you two. As expected, they were lounging happily on the bed. We captured the scene with our phones, taking photos and recording videos all at once.
Hey, what the hell is this?
Stop it! Don't record this! Nick and his mistress cried desperately and it echoed throughout the room. Ignoring them, we continued to record. My father and father-in-law forcefully yanked the blanket off the two as they tried to hide under it. Nick's mistress's clothes, which she had stretched out for from the bed, were thrown into the hallway by my mother-in-law. They seemed to have resigned themselves to the situation, sitting in their underwear a few minutes later. Nick lowered his head towards me.
I'm sorry, Kathy. It was just a moment of weakness.
A moment of weakness? So that makes cheating okay?
Well, that's,
It was that woman who used my stuff and stole, right? You knew all along, yet you dared to say,
Isn't it all in your head? I said I'm sorry. I thought it would be okay if I just used a little.
What? I could have forgiven you if it was just my toner, but my jewelry? Surely she's the one who stole it, right? As I glared at the lover, the woman uncomfortably looked down. I sighed, turning my attention back to my husband. Do you have any idea how much pain you've caused me? It's not just about the cheating. I was betrayed by the very person I trusted and confided in. It was just a moment of weakness is not an acceptable excuse. Enough of your nonsense.
No, you got it wrong. It was just a fling with her. The one I love is you, Kathy.
Shut up. I can't trust anything you say anymore. I heard you say things about me in the bathroom. I'll never forgive you two. I will sue you for every penny you stole from me. I hope you two rot in hell. The aftermath was like a living nightmare. My husband crying and begging for forgiveness, and his mistress lying on the floor crying nonstop. My father, father-in-law, and brother took turns beating him up and demanding he sign the divorce papers. My mother and mother-in-law prepared an impromptu promissory note to ensure his mistress paid back for what she stole from me forcing her to sign it. Once all the paper was signed, my husband and his mistress were thrown out of the house. Their clothes and belongings were tossed out into the yard, and the woman quickly fled the scene. My husband, who kept screaming, "Forgive me!" had also given up and disappeared in half an hour. After that, I divorced my husband. My father-in-law introduced me to a lawyer he knew, and I demanded full compensation for my ex-husband and his mistress. I demanded the woman to return the jewelry she stole, and if that was not possible, I demanded her to pay a lump sum as compensation. My ex-husband was exposed for repeatedly cheating while claiming to be working remotely, and was subsequently fired from his company. He seemed to have to pay back a portion of his salary he received while working from home. The woman also quickly abandoned him, and he fell in a breakdown not only in his professional life, but also in his personal relationships. But I don't feel any sympathy for them. It's all their own fault. Meanwhile, I canceled the lease on the apartment I used to live in with my ex-husband, and now I'm living alone in a condominium near my workplace. I have some money left over from the divorce settlement, and I plan to use it to go on a trip with my parents soon. I can't think about remarrying right now. I need a break from marriage for a while. But if the opportunity arises in the future, I would like to be with someone honest and sincere. Someone who doesn't lie. In the meantime, I will try to develop a good eye for men.